Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with us. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at www.beardedtheologians.com. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians, hosted by Zach Bechtold
and Matt Franks. Can you start?
All right, we'll start this again. Jeez.
That's one take.
Hey, let's fine. We'll go.
That's what you get for giving me crap for not being able to start.
Well, go ahead. We'll start then. We'll leave it at this.
We got this.
We do got this. Whatever this is, we got it. Let's go.
So my wife showed up.
Awesome. Love it. We're having all kinds of special guests today.
She does not look happy. All right, so let's do. Let's just roll with it. Zach, go ahead and roll with it.
I don't care. So today on the show we have a buddy of ours, Todd Harris. He's from the Sugarland, Houston area. As a youth pastor friend of ours, we got to meet him when we were in Houston for the World Methodist Conference not too long ago, and we wanted to have him on the show and have him talk about youth ministry and those types of things. So, Todd, tell us who you are, where you're from, your social security number, credit cards, those types of things.
Yeah. Well, I am from outside of Houston, Texas, in a little town called Sugarland, Texas. Nobody probably knows where that's at. Been in ministry for 15 years, graduate of Asbury in Kentucky. So just really excited to be here.
Awesome. We're super glad to have you. Now, have you been in youth ministry all 15 years, or kind of what does ministry look like for you?
Yeah, well, I started out as a missionary driving a double-decker bus all around America, and we used the vessel of a 45-foot tour bus to create conflict and community to be able to go out and reach people for missions. So we went out and served people during the day, and at night we all slept on the bus and created conflict community and overcame that through confrontation with the people that were on the bus.
Oh, awesome. What's it like driving a double-decker bus?
It's a lot better than driving your car.
Really? Nice. Is it just because people get out of your way?
Absolutely. And the horn is a lot louder.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well,
so what? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, because you're not from the Houston area, right?
No, I was born in Indiana. Yeah, born in Indiana. Okay. So I've served in Indiana, Florida, and now Texas.
Okay. It's all around. Nice.
Yeah. I've stayed in the Methodist Church for all of those 15 years of ministry.
Cool. Very cool.
So, you're in youth ministry now, and what would you suggest? One of the questions I always get as a pastor, and as someone people look to for guidance on speaking to young people, how would you say you would? Let me rephrase this. How would you go about relating to young people these days, in these crazy days of Facebook, Instagram, and all that jazz? How can we really relate and create a relationship with young people these days?
I think the biggest thing is students are looking for authentic people, and they just want you to be you and allow them to be them. You're not trying to dress like them, talk like them. They want to know who you are and want to know that you legitimately care about them. So that's going out of your way to be in their lives, and not just fitting in, but just being present.
So for a lot of your students, unpack what being present means for them.
Yeah, so being present is, going to different events that they have during the school, whether you want to or not, making sure that you cheer them on, both in social media as well as from the church front. So get the pastors to buy into what's going on in the community, and making sure that when you're at an event that you go up and you see them and they see you. Because you can say, I was there, but if they don't see you, they don't always believe you. So being present is making sure they're aware that you're in their life.
How would you say that, like in the social media world these days, just, how do you go about engaging your youth on that? What are some ways that would be a good healthy way of doing that?
Well, I think the number one platform is Snapchat. That's probably the hardest platform to use, though, because it is you have to be invited and it's very closed. I tend to not use Snapchat as much as I use like Instagram and still Facebook. Facebook is probably the least used, but they're still looking at it. Even though they don't want to admit it, they are looking.
When I was in campus ministry, Snapchat, even still today, several of my former students, Snapchat's how we communicate. It's fascinating, I think, because it's the hardest thing in the world to use, and it's dumb, but people use it.
And I resisted it for several years. Actually, I just got Snapchat like this year. And the whole reason why is because it was told to us that's where pornography is, that's where naked girls are, that's where the bad stuff is. But that's where they're at. And it can be used for good, or we can let it be used for bad.
Right. Well, and I think it helps help let them know, hey, we're watching. I know, like with me, I've got a student that I've only got a few students that are on it. I've only got a few students that can afford a phone. So one of the students that's on it, it's helped me really connect with him and say, hey, man, I saw it was on your story the other day. What's going on? And I think that's a great tool, like you said. And I've talked to youth people about using it, and they're like, well, we can't really use it. They've told us not to use it. Like, who told you?
Yeah.
Because it's a form of communication. And if we're not going to be a light in that form of communication, then that's when we start to lose people. And I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, there's definitely bad pitfalls to it, but it is where they're playing. It is where they're at. And we have to be where they're at, because we cannot expect them to come to where we're at.
Right. And it's one of those platforms because of its nature, because you can take a picture and it goes away in 24 hours, or 10 seconds, however you post that. People are being a little more open and honest on it with their feelings and where they are and where they're struggling at. And, we got to pay attention to those things.
Yeah.
And that's certainly, we can use that to our advantage to be there, be present with them, like you said.
Yeah. And we took a risk. We had a community block party event, and knowing that Snapchat is used, so we bought a filter for Snapchat. It was $20 for 4 hours, and anybody who was on the campus of our church that snapped and selected it, it was a flat fee for $20.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have to consider that. I've thought about using it a couple of times when we do, because there are some things where we just host youth and young people. Like when we do our breakfast, basketball breakfast and stuff like that. It'd be kind of a good way to say, hey, take a picture while you're here and kind of come up with some kind of cool graphic.
Well, and it's free publicity for your church.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And they will use it. They'll be more likely to do that than pass out any card or anything like that.
Right. And it was just so I know the numbers. It was $20 for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's what it came out to that we did. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's some pretty good advertising money right there.
It can be a good return on your money.
Yeah, absolutely. It can.
So Todd, we had probably one of the coolest experiences in my life. I don't know about Zach. I lead a pretty dull life. But one of the coolest experiences was connecting us to get to see Gungor when we were at World Methodist Conference. What's kind of a cool story that you have to share, a cool experience that you've had to share while being in ministry these past 15 years?
Yeah, I think the coolest experience is to showing people that side of life. I've been blessed to be able to tour and do stuff like that, but they're normal people. And when you can take somebody off the stage and make them normal, it's just neat to watch people's interactions. And honestly, that's the whole way the church works, in my opinion. Get the pastor off the stage and let them know that the pastor's a real person. It's the same way with anything. I mean, that's been the coolest moment.
It's awesome. I will affirm that was a pretty cool moment, getting to just hang out and see the process and see the human behind some of the music, and you know, and that's a pretty good, pretty good mission, getting the pastor off the stage and into the world.
Well, we got to get the church outside of the church.
Right.
We can't just be like, our church is located at 3300 Austin Parkway. If that's the only place we do ministry, then we're just a structure. And that's being present in the life of a student. Is you got to walk across the street to the school. You got to walk to the basketball game. You got to be present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, maybe that's something that we've lost over time. You know, we get busy, we get stuck in our offices, we get stuck in the pulpit, and essentially forget to get out. And then if we're not getting out, we're not encouraging our churches to leave the walls of the church. And so really, I mean, I believe it starts from us down, from leadership down.
Yeah, it's looking at God as an interruption. Not that that's a bad thing, but you look at it, the ministry, he took time for every person that interrupted him in his ministry. And if we treat ministry just like that, every opportunity that we consider an interruption could be the biggest piece of our ministry. And so I didn't intend to get into driving buses and going out on tours and stuff like that, but it's been a blessing to be able to open a lot of doors. And I want to make sure that I share that every opportunity I get with anybody that I can.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Franks, do you have any more questions?
Well, I was just thinking, you shared some good advice on how to connect with students, and kind of a little bit about yourself and your obviously love and passion for ministry. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us or share with the world and our 8 to 10 users that will probably look at this? No offense, we actually have more probably than 8 to 10 users, and we love everybody that listens to the show. Every single one of you. Most of you, we know you by name because you love us. But for those of you that we don't know, we'd love to get to know you. What's just something, if there's something you'd like to share for the world to know about how, not only how to connect with students, but and I know we've asked this question again, but what's the biggest thing? Because that's something I get all the time when people ask me about youth ministry. What's the big thing that we can do to get youth connected into our church? What if you had one piece of advice to give, what would that one piece of advice be?
I think it's be willing to take a risk. Don't be reckless with your risk. Be educated, be thoughtful, be prayed up, but be risky. Because ministry is a risk. The disciples took a risk by following Jesus's teachings, and everywhere they went was risky. They didn't know what the providing was going to be. And don't be afraid to challenge your senior pastor, because a lot of times your senior pastor, he or she doesn't know how to do it either. But you're part of the team. And as long as you respect your senior pastor and you continue to show that respect, your pastor will respond to that. And that's the biggest piece of working inside the church that I have learned. Don't go rogue. Don't make your pastor look bad. Don't make your church look bad. And don't make your family look bad. Be you. Don't worry about how you dress, how you talk, what kind of car you drive, even what kind of Bible you carry. Be you. And that's how I think to reach a student is the best way. Authentic person.
I'd almost say you could carry that over for adults too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and think about this. We got to spend some time with Gungor together, and I would venture to say that your all's opinion of Gungor changed a little bit, or maybe got strengthened by just hanging out with him. He said a lot of things that the church has turned away from, but you got to see him in his passion with playing and writing and his art. And I'm telling you, like what he says or not, he's amazing in what he does.
Absolutely. And I love that you said take a risk, because I've been one of those people that churches have taken a risk on, and I'm thankful for that. Thanks for taking a risk on me. We learned together, we failed, we succeeded together, but ultimately we all took a risk and we did something different. We introduced the gospel to some new people.
Well, and youth ministry, the average tenure of a youth minister is between 9 months and 15 months. And so it's a cycle. So you know what? You might fail at a church, and it's okay. As long as you didn't do anything that compromises who you believe God wants you to be, don't worry about it, because they picked you to come in to serve them. And so regardless of how your tenure goes, they picked you. And they believed God leading you there, and you responded to a call. So brush yourself off, get back involved. And if you do get dismissed or anything like that, don't be afraid to take some time to just be a part of the church. I think that working inside the church, we don't worship at our churches enough. And you've got to worship. You've got to be present. Not only in other people's lives, but your own life.
And I think that was for me when I was in youth ministry for about 5 years. And when I left my position, I vowed for 4 months not to take any position, not to even entertain the idea of taking any kind of positions, because the phone calls were there. And so my wife and I, we found a church that we felt was comfortable, and we fell in love with it and got connected into it. And then at that period, at that time frame that I'd set, there was an opportunity. It was like, okay, this is, I need to get back into ministry. And some of that was so that way I knew what I was coming into was going to be a lifelong deal of service. And I really needed that time to kind of, do some deep soul searching. I was still in seminary. I was about to have my first child. And it was just kind of that reassurance that, I asked God for that time, and like literally to the day when that time ran up, there was an opportunity for me, and I was just like, hey, this is what I need to be doing. And, as I've gone along in my ministry, especially in the last 8 years, it's been amazing that even though I try not to do youth ministry, because I really, I really need to focus on being the senior, I find myself back in to doing youth ministry, either doing it or being really involved with it. And I have found that very life-giving. I enjoy being around the students. They also provide us perspective that we need to hear and lift up within the church. And so one of the gifts that I've been doing, and I've really made it happen at this current appointment, is involving youth in the life of the church. And I'm not just saying placing them on a committee to fill a spot, but what I'm saying is, and Todd, you and I talked about this a little bit, one of my rules for worship is that at least once a quarter, a youth serves as a liturgist for a month, and it's just it's a standard I hold myself to. It's not a rule in the church. It's not some authoritative, thing. It's something that I want the students to understand the other side of worship and worship planning, and have them involved in that process of seeing what it looks like on the other side. And that has been such a life-giving thing. One of my students who does do other things at other churches, because we don't offer everything that youth ministry has out there. And he knows that we're his home church, and I respect that. And but he said, one of the reasons why I love this, and this is my home church, is because you all treat us like church members. And you have us involved in the life of the church, not just as a youth program, but as the life of the church. And that is something that I don't see other places. And hearing that was a great affirmation of what I'm trying to do here, and that everything we do is not siloed, but everybody's welcomed, truly. I was inviting 90-year-old people to come paintballing with us, because it's the only legal way you can cause bruises on children. And so,
that's right.
And I think that that's one of the ways that we can really shift is involving them in the life of the church, not just because we have some authoritative rule, but having them find out what their passions are and saying, hey, would you like to do this for us? You love doing this. Would you like to do this on a Sunday? Or I know, like Todd said, you involve them in communion in your congregation. And I think that's, the more we can help them utilize their gifts and graces as part of the bigger life of the church. I think that's we'll keep them coming back, but we'll also let them know that there is a place for them.
Yeah, and I think that we have to do that, but we also have to show them what it's like to be the church with other churches too. And I mean, for Thanksgiving, we're having an interfaith community worship service. We've got the rabbi coming in. We've got the Islam Center. I mean, we've got every religion in this town coming here. You have to set the example of being the church to the people. And the youth are incredibly smart these days. I think they are way more intelligent than I ever have been and probably am now. And they get things. So we can't talk down to them. We have to talk with them, and not to them, but with them, because they are so intelligent. And we have to be able to not only be able to take a risk ourselves, but allow them to take risks and us help them when they fall.
Absolutely. You're right, man. Youth make me feel dumb. They are. They're so smart, but they get it. So many of them just they get the idea. When I've been in churches with youth groups that we've had multiple just Methodist churches in town, and they're like, "Why aren't we partying with those guys? Why aren't we doing stuff together?" Much less the Baptist church down the street or the synagogue or they're asking these questions before me as a leader even was like, oh crap, and so they're watching, and they're willing to be open and honest and not see the barriers that adults have put in place because of feelings and business and just difference in beliefs. They're going, those guys are cool. Let's go work with them. We can do much more.
They go to school together. They are beside each other way more than we are, because we have the ability to say, no, we're just going to sit in our office. We don't have to go out and be anybody else. They're sitting side by side in the classroom.
Absolutely.
They're equal.
Yeah, they are. And we got to listen to that. We need to encourage more people to listen to that and say, hey, these guys have phenomenal ideas. Let's run with it. And like you say, be willing to go, man, these guys are a lot smarter than I am. I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
And I think too often as adults, we're unwilling to listen because, well, they're just kids.
And I have very rarely, in 15 years, very few times ever been let down by a student. I've probably let them down way more than they've let me down. Now, I've been disheartened by them, and I've been disappointed, but not let down. They rise far above any expectations I can give them. You just got to let them be and know that they've been taught, and they will execute and be God out there.
Absolutely. Todd, I love it, man. We appreciate you spending some time with us, man, sharing your heart, sharing your passion for ministry, and just sharing who you are. Keep up the good work.
Can I stay with you guys? Do I got enough leads on it?
You can, yeah. You're good.
There's no beard requirement to be on Bearded Theologians. I think we've had more females contribute and be on our show than we've had males. So, that's just a minor little detail.
We can always Photoshop.
So here's a crazy thing. I love going to conferences, and I know you guys do too. That's where I met you. But don't be afraid to go to a conference, and don't worry about missing some of the conference, because had I not missed the conference to go out and do things with you all, I would have missed the opportunity. And I promise, the World Methodist Conference was great, but I've gotten a lot more out of just hanging out than I have with being a part of a class.
Yeah, and I think that was something. It was something I needed for sure. It was just it's been a rough year for me and my family, and so just enjoyed the conference, but also enjoyed the relationships that had been built through that conference and some of the connections that I've been able to make and or even reestablish, which has been great. And
So my last thing: sanity in youth ministry. 15 years. Find your release and make that release healthy. Mine is driving tour buses. I love staying up all night and, just driving a bus aimlessly around the United States. It's great. But you've got to find your release, and it's got to be a healthy one, whether that's a golf game, whether that's a car that you're trying to restore, but find something outside of the church. And that's how I think you can sustain yourself in ministry. Because if you let the church rule your family, it's a dark place. And
Absolutely
you've got to keep yourself healthy and excited, and that's how longevity lasts.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. On that note, we're gonna close this out. Todd, again, thanks for being with us, man. You're welcome to come hang out with us anytime. We can throw a goatee on a mug or something. I don't know.
Isn't that what this is, though? You know.
Yeah, that's right. That matched pretty good. That was good. But anyways, at the end of the day, we always like to affirm people and ask questions and push them a little bit to be in conversation with us. So all of our listeners out there, we want to know how you're taking risk in ministry. Whether you're a youth pastor or a layperson or clergy, whatever it is, wherever you are in ministry, how are you taking risk? How are you involving youth and empowering them to be a part of it? Are you listening? Are you hearing them? And then overall, I like that last thing you put, how are you taking care of yourself? Make sure you're taking care of yourself. If you will, however you connect with us on the social media platforms, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, the Facebook page, the Twitters, the Instagram, whatever it is, be in conversation with us. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you're doing and how you're doing it. Thank Todd for being on. And you can always check us out at beardtheologians.com. We have all of our podcasts and blogs and things there. You can buy shirts and mugs. The Christmas season's coming up, and they make great stocking stuffers. If you'll pay attention,
huge.
They are huge. You can put your whole fist in that one. It's great. See? That's a lot of coffee.
I use my jumbo mug on Thursdays because I need that much coffee on Thursdays.
This is like a 30-ounce mug or something, isn't it?
It's a very large mug. You might as well just brew your coffee in. Yeah. Straight into the mug. So,
and very, very Texas of you with your Dr. Pepper there.
That's right.
It is. Big mug, Dr. Pepper. Got to be in Texas.
Can we make Dr. Pepper our sponsor, not sponsor for the day?
That's why you got a red wall.
That is a Dr. Pepper colored wall.
It is.
Yeah, Crowder bought the Dr. Pepper studio. That's where his studios are.
Wow.
Waco.
Oh, really?
He bought the farm that Dr. Pepper was invented in.
Wow.
Interesting. That's fancy.
That boy can drink Dr. Pepper.
I bet
he can. He can play some music too, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Well, we're running low on our time here, so I'll sign us off. For the Bearded Theologians, I'm Zach Bechtold.
And I'm Matt Franks this time.
And thanks for checking us out.
Thank you for joining us for the Bearded Theologians podcast. If you'd like to find out more about us, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com or check us out on Facebook at Bearded Theologians or on Twitter and Instagram. We're glad that you joined us for our conversation, and we hope that you continue it on. Thank you and have a blessed day.
So it's the best $20 I spent.